Okay, welcome to the Dramatic Arts Town Hall. What we hope to accomplish over the next while, probably about an hour, is to provide students, both first-year incoming and returning students, with all of the up-to-date information that we have about our programming and what the autumn and winter are going to look like. But we're first going to begin with a land acknowledgement.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Rhodes. I'm going to share with you a land acknowledgement that includes some words from Jill Carter, who's an Anishinaabe Ashkenazi theater scholar who's in Toronto. So Brock University acknowledges the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Chinantan peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. The Chinantan people have called these lands home for thousands of years, and more recently, the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon treaty territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. The dish, or sometimes it's called a bowl, represents what is now Southern Ontario. We all eat out of the dish. All of us share this territory with only one spoon. That means we have to share the responsibility of ensuring the dish is never empty, which includes taking care of the land and the creatures we share it with. Importantly, there are no knives at the table, representing that we must keep the peace. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendships of Indigenous people. And a quick addition from Jill Carter, as I said before. It is important for all Canadians to understand that without treaties, Canada would have no legitimacy as a nation. All who live within Canada's borders, too, are treaty people. Our task in the work we do as artists and scholars is to facilitate such conciliation, to utilize our gifts to transform hearts and minds and behaviors, and to effect transformation by opening up spaces of meeting and testing out the ways by which we, the storytellers of this generation, might effectually mediate such spaces of profound encounter and renewal. As it says in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission document, by listening to your story, my story can change. By listening to your story, I can change. I'm just going to recommend a book real quick. It's Indigenous Rights, a guide to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit issues in Canada that came out a few years ago. If you're interested in learning more, definitely check this out. It's available at the Brock Library. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Rachel. And now we will just take a moment to introduce ourselves a little bit more fully. I believe, Diego, let's start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're going to do with us today?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Diego, just like Go Diego Go. I'm going into my 4th year of the Dramatic Arts program with co-op with a minor in economics. And I'm actually originally from Tequisquiapan, Mexico. I know, kind of spicy. I'm actually here right now in Mexico. It's very hot. And I'm going to be one of your DART reps for the next academic year for 2020-2021 with Luca D'Amico. He couldn't join us, but I know he's here with all his heart.
Perfect. Thank you. Rachel, could you tell us a little bit more about you?
Sure, of course. So my name is Rachel Rhodes. I teach mainly in the applied theater concentration and drama and education. I'm here at St. Catharines right now, and I'm thrilled to be coming back for my 2nd year and can't wait to meet all of you incoming students and keep building relationships with returning students. So excited to see you virtually.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Gavin?
Hi, I'm Gavin Farron. I'm the technical director for Dramatic Arts, as well as an sessional instructor for production and design courses. I'll be running the tech for this live stream. So in fact, I'll turn my camera off shortly so that I can manage chat and whatnot. I'm also recording for anyone who isn't able to attend right now. We'll post a link on Dartboard or send it out through email so that those who are missing this can attend in a time warp.
Thanks very much, Gavin. We'll also be posting this PowerPoint presentation that's part of the live stream today. So let's just have a few more housekeeping things, but I'll just first say that my name is David Fancy. I teach performance courses and praxis courses, and I'm looking forward to being the Dramatic Arts Chair for this coming year and provide that service to the community and to make sure that everyone is feeling very welcome. So just around the housekeeping, as Gavin said, the session is going to be recorded and posted on Dartboard. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second, as well as the PowerPoint. Incoming students, we're going to email you over the coming days about how to access Dartboard. It's an internal messaging system, a content management system associated with Sakai, our learning management online system, and we're going to help you access that and all the other information that's there. Also, you can follow this link when we send out the PowerPoint, or when we post the PowerPoint. There's an advising page for current students and incoming students on the DART website at this link here. It's really important for us because we want to continue to transmit information about what the upcoming year is going to be looking like with all the COVID-related changes, and ensuring that everything that we do is responsive to the questions and needs that you have. So in fact, we're having this town hall today in major part because we wanted to reach out, get questions from incoming students and returning students. So the entire structure of today is actually based around questions that you have asked. If you have more questions as we move forward, please just pop them into the chat function in the stream. If we don't have the opportunity to cover those today, what we're going to do is carefully go through and over those questions and ensure that we either have another town hall in the near future, email you the information that you're seeking, and we're also going to supply lots of contacts for those of you who aren't familiar with the department about who you can get in touch with specific questions. So we're basically here to provide as much information as we can. First thing we'd like to do is to celebrate the fact that this is the first day of convocation, the virtual convocation for all of our DART graduates. So congratulations. We had a great sort of end of year party that involved many graduands who are now graduates recently, and it was great to see that DART students can actually make an online and virtual party a lot of fun against all odds. You guys made it fantastic. So we've received a lot of questions, and we've organized them in clusters. The first one is essentially, what's fall 2020 going to look like? So this page here provides you with a link to what Brock has articulated will be occurring in fall 2020, the upcoming term. But what we want to do here is to give you a granular level of detail of what things are going to be looking like in different areas within the department. So I'll just reiterate what Brock says is part of their 2020 plan. And obviously we're following that and extending that in the local level. They say that almost all undergraduate courses will be delivered online, including lectures, seminars, tutorials, and many lab components. That's for the fall. A small number of courses will be offered on campus in cases where a suitable online substitute does not exist. I'll talk about what that means for DART in a moment. They say two more things. All on-campus courses will strictly follow public health guidelines to ensure student safety and well-being. This will include physical distancing, both on campus and in the classroom, as well as regular cleaning of classrooms between courses. So that, of course, applies to the Marilyn I. Walker School, all the activities that are going to be undertaken in the context of the Department of Dramatic Arts. They also speak of BU4U, Brock U4U, an innovative program offering personalized program of academic coaching, community building, and supports. And Diego's going to talk a little bit about this further in the context of Smart Start. So I'll leave him give us some details a little later. Essentially what we're doing is we're preparing a protocol to allow smaller students, smaller groups of people doing project-based work with full physical distancing and other protocols for activities such as production. So we're preparing a protocol, and we will go through the process of attempting to get that approved, as everybody on campus is doing, for small teaching and learning moments, to see what we can reasonably bring into your experience here for the autumn. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we go through each of the concentration areas and discussion of main stages. rest assured, there will always be an online option for those of you working remotely. We'll talk a little bit about this later, but we recognize that some people may choose to just not move to the region, for example, and do their online studies in the autumn. So everything will be available online in the autumn. Just want to talk about the winter term because that question is coming up. Things are unclear at the moment. We're following what the university is suggesting. We recognize, however, if this does move, if we move in Dart and on campus to an in-person model, we recognize it might be difficult for some of you who have committed to living out of the region and to begin your studies in the autumn online, the challenges of moving to the area to be in person. So we are in discussion with the dean and all of the other academic leaders around us and our colleagues about how we would provide solutions for people who stayed at a distance but wanted to study with Dart in the second term if, for whatever reason, we are fortunate enough to be working together. And that might involve dual delivery from an instructional level. So these are details that we're working out, but we're sensitive to the kinds of questions and concerns on an individual basis you're all having about where do I live. We've also looked at moving some courses or aspects of courses from the first to the second term. These include courses such as elements of Clown, for example. A full list of courses and modules of courses that we've moved to the second term will be available in the information on the current students page. So we'll come back to more questions about what online offerings are going to look like on a concentration by concentration basis. But first, Diego is going to talk about a buddy system that he and Luca are talking about developing and putting in place. Okay, so here's that other information that not very good at following my own PowerPoints. Here's the other information about the university. And back to Diego with the buddy system. Over to you.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone, again. So Brock is really working really hard to be able to give all the incoming first years an amazing first year experience. Here in Dart, we want to be part of that. We know that part of the first year experience is all those conversations that happen outside of class, in the common rooms. So what me and Luca are developing is creating a buddy system where we will be pairing up first years with upper year students, most likely fourth year students, who will act as their mentors and will guide them in these difficult times, answer any questions, plan some Netflix parties, some crazy ideas that we are planning. We are starting to develop this system, and we will be contacting all the fourth years probably in like a week or 2 weeks. So please check your emails, and we hope to hear your response.
That's excellent, and it's a super initiative, and I think Diego and Luca's sort of initiatives there are representative of all the kinds of things that the Dart student body and community engages in around these important suggestions of the best practices that frequently come from students. And so thank you for that. Let's talk specifically now about what online teaching is going to look like. All right, it's something that we've had a couple of months to think about. One of our colleagues, Dr. Karen Fretker, who teaches in Praxis, has just successfully completed the delivery of an online course, and so we're developing lots of capacity, and I'll talk a little bit about that. This capacity involves working with colleagues nationally and internationally to see what best practices for teaching theater, both studio courses, courses in facilitation that happen in laboratory settings, courses that occur in shop settings, as well as more traditional lecture and seminar-based courses. So lots of capacity building there as we work laterally with our colleagues and talk to students about what works for them and not. We're working with the educational technologists here at Brock. There's a strong team with the Center for Pedagogical Innovation who we have regular coaching and contact sessions with. We as a department, like many people, and not many people are traveling or having holidays this summer, so we were consecrating lots of time to meetings to determine how to best deliver things. And we're also really as people who are really interested, engaged, and passionate about theater, and theater as a sort of and performance as art forms, as tools, as teaching and facilitation techniques, we're really committed to how do we use the online format in such a way that we stay true to our commitments and passions about that particular set of art forms and tools and thinking around these things. So we're really determined not to have a sort of I mean, we have to get through this moment. Let's acknowledge that, but we're really committed to it being as best as possible. That's all our reaching out. So as per all of our existing practices, all course outlines have learning objectives and clear criteria for evaluation. Some of you were asking questions about evaluation of online materials, and this also extends into the virtual teaching and learning space. So I'd just like to go through some of the different areas of the department to see what our colleagues are preparing and saying. So just some notes from some of our performance acting voice colleagues. The kinds of things that they will be doing with online teaching in the autumn include synchronous online warm-ups, synchronous meaning people meeting together at the same time in the same virtual space, synchronous online explorative work and skill development, small group collaboration, devising, and discussions in digital virtual breakout rooms, full class online discussions about readings, reflection on the work, reflections on online viewings, online individual and group rehearsal time and skill development, weekly sharing of materials through online live filmed methods, online coaching and observation of coachings. There's a lot of other things, obviously, that our colleagues in that area are going to be doing, but this just gives you a sense of some of the types of tools, techniques, strategies that are being built into all of the fall online course delivery. So here we have lots of images I'm going to keep peppering throughout of when we are together. Curiously, this is people doing work that actually might, I think a colleague reminded me these might be visual arts students, but at any rate, there we go. Another set of observations from our production and design colleagues. Just want to talk a little bit about what the information that is coming out of the production design concentration around what the first year and second year courses are going to look like specifically. And then they have provided a really rich set of plans for each of the courses across the years. And this information will be put online as part of, at the current students' Google Docs that we regularly update with information. In fact, it's already there, so that's great. So just want to make sure that our incoming students understand what the first year course is going to look like by working through these notes. So Dart 1P97 is being offered in September to December with a mix of synchronous and asynchronous course learning. Though the course is scheduled from 9 to 2 on Monday, we're not expecting students to be present with us for a continuous live learning period during the entire 5 hours. We all know what Zoom fatigue feels like at this stage of things. As we develop the course teaching model, say the colleagues, we will be able to speak with more specificity. But at this time, it's expected there'll be a combination of 50 continuous minutes in the lecture and 50 continuous minutes in the lab. The remaining 3 hours are for course learning, following on the teaching material that's being developed that will be posted in the online content management, and course-based project completion and research. So just to give you a sense of, well, if we're going to be in this virtual space for 5 hours for this course, what's that going to look like? The wardrobe lab aspect of the learning will be relatively consistent across both the fall and the winter terms, even if we are in person in the winter term. Students will continue to have experiential learning in the lab and will build the same project in each session. For winter and possibly spring, students will order a materials kit that Roberta Doyland, head of wardrobe, is preparing for you. The kits will be available for order from the campus store, and the cost of the materials kits will be included in the course material fee. So again, this information will continue to be posted online, but these are the kinds of things that we're doing to ensure that you have the materials that you need at your place of study if it doesn't happen to be here for the fall term. The lighting and sound lab will be consistent across both the fall and spring sessions. By that meaning a group of students will be taking 1P97, Introduction to Stagecraft Production Design in the fall, and another group will be taking it in the spring, and we're just ensuring that there's a similar overall approach to the teaching and delivery of each of these courses, be they in person or not. So we're really paying attention to that consistency. We're not preparing materials kits for lighting design or sound. There'll be a couple of creative projects that will ask you to explore no-cost, accessible, open source software. The university is also developing a new pipeline for students to access licensed software for course learning. Because we can't necessarily teach in the carpentry lab in the autumn, we're looking at building an intensive moment where students will come together and do as soon as we're able to be back on campus. And we might look at scheduling this as one of these exceptional moments where people can come to campus, a sort of an intensive, where the use of all of the tools that one engages in carpentry will be happening on site together at the same time in a big bunch of learning. So regardless of how we are informed by public health and the institution of how this is all going to work, we're going to make sure that that learning does happen. I will just, this lovely image of our scene shop that we'll be doing that work in. And just for returning students, again, information about third and other senior courses are available at the current students page on the DART website, but let's just look at 2P40, 2P41, stagecraft and stage production. So these courses have been structured with the hope that we might be teaching on site, in person, and in January. Currently, the two courses have the following schedules: September to December, sound design, design, and drafting. And then again, January to April, lighting, carpentry, rigging, wardrobe, stage management, and a field trip as possible. Again, our colleagues in this area remind us that we deeply value the importance of your learning during the practical experiential components of the course. And if we can't deliver these opportunities in January to April, then we will further refine the lab structure and, like the 1P97 first year course, plan to offer intensive learning experiences in the studios, shops, and theater as soon as we can. So again, we're taking all possible contingencies and have scenarios for everything that the situation is going to continue to give us. I don't believe I have a slide for it, but apologies, but I'm going to give us some information about DART 2P42 stage production. All of this information is available on the current students tab of the DART website. DART 2P42 stage production. The crew course has been moved to a January start, again in the hope that we will be working on site. If this is the case, then the crew will build and produce the second main stage, Fever Dream, and the One Acts Festival. However, if we are directed to teach online only from January to April, then DART 2P42 and the One Acts Festival, in tandem with DART 4Y93, will be rescheduled until such a time that we can safely be in shared spaces again. There has been discussion about offering these courses in spring session if we can't teach them in winter, which we're hoping we can, but many variables, such as the availability of students to participate in courses at that time of year, will obviously be needed to take, we'll need to take those into consideration. An important note, wigs and makeup 3Y46 is being offered. We're going to send a special notice about this around through Dartboard to all students. And we would like you to register for that course if you're interested. And if you could kindly write Roberta Doyland, rdoyland@brocu.ca, you know her, and let her know that you plan on being in that course. She has to prepare in collaboration with others, the kits for that course that will be sent to you. And we would really love to hear numbers about that because we're excited about offering that course. Again, more thorough information that Roberta has provided me will be sent to you via Dartboard over the coming days. All right, so another image from a recent production of Perdita this past term. Okay, so let's move now. We've talked about performance. We've talked in an introductory fashion about performance and in an introductory fashion about production and design. Let's look at what our colleagues in drama and education and applied theater are saying. So there'll be a mix of synchronous and asynchronous delivery. There'll be breakout rooms for facilitation and modeling of teaching and pedagogy. They will be bringing in artists, activist educators, and community builders to engage students with their work on the virtual platform. This will also involve small group devising, brief lectures, and opportunities to produce lesson plans, community workshops, and other ways, and other takeaways for you to use in community and education settings. Right? So again, this is the autumn. We're hoping that we'll be back into our spaces for the regular forms of approaches in the winter term, but all of this work is being done to make the fall term demanding and exciting. All right, so an image from a drama and education applied theater class. Looking forward to be back in those spaces. So let's look at courses in theater and performance making. For those of you who are planning on taking these courses this year, DART 3P53, Directing and Dramaturgy. It's offered online with an adapted approach, open and justified scene assignments replaced by other creative devising projects that will reinforce learning points in proxemics, composition, and visual grammar. Jillian notes that we're planning to conduct the Gimme 2 Festival online in order to connect third-year directors and our first-year cohort. So if you're coming into first year, you're going to, in the context of your acting class, 1P99, you will be directed by a student in 3P53 and 3P54 in order to make sure that you have the opportunity to do your performance in front of the entire community in week 7 of your acting class in the first year. Really like people getting out there in public and up on their feet. And then DART 3P54 Directing, the One Act Play Festival is scheduled for March on the production calendar. And we should note that the registrar's office is currently listed, this might be a default, but listed all of the winter courses is happening in person. So we're moving forward with that assumption until that default is changed. So from our colleagues in Praxis, such as Karen Fricker and myself, a mix of synchronous and asynchronous delivery, virtual field trips, regular check-ins on Microsoft Teams, and life size is the missing word there, virtual essay clinics, videos and other resources, and all of the kinds of tools that we can use to keep the productive conversation, debate, analysis, engagement with theater and performance as modes of thinking within those Praxis courses that we normally do. And an image from Karen and her colleagues' initiatives, the Dramatic Arts Critics, that will obviously keep on going. So overall, we're going to be doing everything that we can to accommodate the fact that people may have a difficult time being in online environments because of bandwidth or accessibility issues. We're currently in communication with ITS, our technological services, to see what kind of support is available. And we're encouraging people to look at loans and bursaries to assist them in allowing them to turn their own spaces into teaching and learning spaces with sufficient bandwidth, so that this whole difficult enterprise is as accessible for you as possible. I know that we've had informal discussions amongst ourselves about the real need for flexibility around student need and accessibility and all the individual challenges some of us might be facing getting online for all kinds of different reasons. And we're really encouraging people at a time that makes sense for them to disclose to us in a way that is healthy for them about the challenges that they're facing, so that we can do the work of inclusion early. And or even if things come up on the fly, just let us know your challenges. The approach is a sort of profoundly compassionate one, but is best organized as possible to sort of suit the demands of the teaching learning moment for all concerned in this challenging time. So again, this link for loans and bursaries. There are very specific challenges around learning from a distance, and those of you, for example, who have just finished high school will be eye-rolling at the number of times that you've had to spend, the amount of time you've had to spend online, and some of it perhaps more productive than others. And certainly we finished the term here with a couple of weeks online. And it makes very specific demands from the educator's perspective that we've been working through, but it also makes really significant demands for those of you who are learning frequently in isolation. Theater is a very collective learning enterprise in many ways. The work of debate, discussion, analysis is also very collective and happens in group settings or solidarities and affiliations and different kinds of support, all the emotional and affective work of learning. So it's important to recognize that if you've, and I think many of you have already experienced this, that needs support as we're doing work in an online environment. So there's lots of different resources available through A to Z Learning at Brock, and also the Student Wellness and Accessibility Service has sort of COVID-specific mental health strategies that are then tied into different learning moments. And you'll find when you consult the A to Z Learning website that they're doing all kinds of interesting things around chat sessions, group online sessions, all kinds of comparable things. So again, make sure that you let us know the challenges that you're having. So in addition to these other resources on campus, we're doing the best that we can for you. So now Diego is going to talk about Smart Start and BU4U.
Hi, everyone, again. Thank you, David. So yeah, this is my second summer working on the Smart Start team. Just a quick thing, recruitment and student life are working really hard to transition the programs, the transitionary programs they have for incoming first years into this online setting due to COVID. So how Smart Start is going to look like, it's basically, it's a transitionary program for first years. I know some of you probably have some questions outside of DART, probably about finance, about financial aid, about how to be successful inside the classroom and outside. So Smart Start is basically a platform that offers you all of that. You can register. I think David is going to show in the next slide where you can go and register for Smart Start. And basically, it's going to be on demand. So on July 10th, the link is going to open and you will be able to access our website at any point you want during the summer. There's going to be 8 different presentations. And also, we are going to be able to, if you want to check your schedule for the year, just to make sure you're registered in the proper courses. And if you have any questions and if you want to talk to me or my other team members, you can email us at smartstart@brocku.ca and we will be able to answer all the questions you want. For BU4U, this is going to be a virtual online learning program that's going to open in August, which is kind of like the second part of Smart Start. They will be teaching you creative ways of how to be successful in this online world. And in face-to-face, when we go back to classes, to normal classes, you will also be able to meet several and different people from different programs in going into their first years. And BU4U, it's also engage with engagement community, which is basically a program where you will be paired up with people with the same interests as you and in the same faculty, and they will give you a peer mentor, which is an upper year student who will be helping you throughout your year. And just to talk about how your course is going to look like, you're going to use the calendar for the 2020-2021 throughout your years here at Brock for the incoming first years. Here are the classes that you will be taking. DART 1P91 is the Introduction to Theater and Performance. DART 1P92 is Performance as Cultural Practice 1. 1P96 is Script Analysis and Interpretation. 1P97 is Introduction to Stagecraft, Production and Design. 1P99 is Introduction to Performance. DART 1P94 is Creative Play for Community Development. And DART P95 is Creative Play for Education. For your science and social science context credit, you can search just Brock University context credit list. Make sure you search the 2020-2021 just to see which courses you can add to fulfill those context credits. Just to let you know, next week, June 24th, the timetable is going to open, so you can search when the courses are going to be offered. And your registration date is going to be July 13th. So make sure you're in your computer at 6 a.m. Eastern time to be able to register for your courses.
That's perfect, Diego. Thanks so much. I'm just noticing from the stream that there's a question from Abby, and I'll just read it out. She says, how will the scheduling of online course times work? If there will be an assigned time to log on for a course, how are conflicts going to be handled both within DART and other departments like concurrent education? Okay, so that's a great question. Because what we are doing in the Department of Dramatic Arts is we have listed all of our courses with the registrar, and you'll see this when you get into your timetable for the year, as sync or synchronous, so that there's specific periods of time blocked out. The regular 3-hour lecture lab, the regular 5-hour studio, or workshop session, those are going to be booked within your calendar, so that another program that also is listing their courses as sync will not be able to have their course over hours and expect you to be able to register for both of them at the same time. As we've been making clear in the earlier observations, just because something is listed as being sync and it's got a 5-hour timeline on it, it doesn't mean that you're going to be in a virtual room for that entire period. I refer back to David Vivian, who'd sent the very useful observations about what first year production design, introduction production design is going to look like. 50 minutes of in-session work, another 50 minutes, and then another 3 hours of working together, and then perhaps checking back in. So that's a long answer. A short answer is, the registrar will ensure that you cannot register for courses that are overlapping. So even though things are online, it doesn't mean that everything is all happening at the same time. And Abby, if that doesn't answer your question, just please ask a follow-up, and I can make sure I answer it before we go, or if you want to send us an email, we can do it that way too. So some questions that people are having. Can I take the year off? There might be any number of reasons why you might feel that I should be deferring my studies for a year. What we in the department are doing is working very hard and to make this as rich and demanding and exciting a year as possible. But you might have superseding and extenuating circumstances that just make it impossible to be here. So the answer is yes. Of course you can defer, and of course you can take a year off. And the contacts for this are generally the registrar's office, who deals with these matters. But also please feel free to contact Karen Fricker, the undergraduate program officer, or our own faculty of humanities advisor in the department, Mike Gicante. If you're looking at those sort of technical questions about what does this look like, what does it do for deposits and fees, the registrar's office will certainly be able to give you all that technical information. I'm also going to share a link for the university's FAQ, which has answers to lots of these types of technical questions. We encourage you to come, obviously, if there's anything we can do to accommodate you. And we're going to have a really rich and demanding and interesting year. But I'd encourage anyone who really needs to defer not to feel bad about it, and just to reach out to us if they want to talk about anything, and just sort of make it a collective and affirmative process, as well as and not just something that's difficult. Okay. So lots of questions about main stages. So will main stage, our sort of large once per term production that involves students from all across the department in a whole variety of ways, will those events be continuing? Yes. I've said here social distancing, but I really mean is physical distancing. They will, the fall show that I'm directing, Scenes from an Execution, will be a mix of in-present as possible, if we can have our in-person protocol mobilized and approved by the senior administration, involving physical distancing with people in the space and some rehearsals in the space. We're going to tell a story in that production about a 16th century feminist painter in Italy, based on a historical figure. And we're going to use the whole idea of social isolation as a theme to explore her lived reality of being a feminist in a deeply patriarchal environment. And so the whole experience of social distancing, we are grafting that into dramaturgical explorations around how does distance and space and gender play out. So we're looking not to avoid the COVID moment, but to embrace it and explore it for the purposes of this text. We're hoping that, and the plan is since, well, is it a plan? Is it not a plan? We're hoping that the second term main stage, Fever Dream, that Gillian Raby's directing and that David Vivian is designing will be in person. But again, sorry for social distancing. I know that's a superannuated term. Physical distancing may still be in effect. So yes, the main stage is going ahead. This is a production that we did, my goodness, it feels like about 3 years ago, but it was only last October. Main stages. Can I be in main stages and not be registered as a student? All right. So first of all, it's going to be very difficult if you don't come back to have been given a role in main stage based on an audition, and then based on a process of figuring out where your abilities best meet a role in a production. It'll be difficult to carry that, if not impossible, to carry that over to a show in the 2021-22 season. So if you're not able to be here and be in the production, it will be difficult, in fact, impossible to guarantee a slot in the main stage for the next academic year. You will be able to and have to audition for that. Generally speaking, and in most cases, people who are in main stages are also taking courses, because all of the forms of learning, the ones that happen within the context of the main stage, production pathways, design pathways, the performance pathways, the community engagement pathways via the applied theater kind of leadership and drama and education leadership that happens through the talkbacks, for example. All of these forms of learning support one another. That's the justification for having people who are involved also studying. However, we've talked about this as a group of faculty and staff. And once again, there might be very challenging circumstances that 1, 2, 3 of you are facing around, you simply cannot come back this year. You simply have to defer, because what if you are suddenly a caregiver for a sibling and can't work to make money to come and study because your parents are working and someone's got to take care of the younger sibling, and you don't have the funds to come back? We don't want to be in a position of preventing you from having a main stage experience because of circumstances out of your control. Perhaps you had a job lined up at a camp in the summer and that fell through, and you don't necessarily have the resources and don't qualify for a loan or don't want to take a bursary, these kinds of things. So we're looking at trying to find a way that would allow you to petition the department, let us know if you're a person in that situation, disclose as much as you're comfortable with around why, and we're going to see if we can find a way that still gives you coverage around insurance, for example, perhaps by registering for one course, an independent study course, which would be financially more feasible. But then, of course, you would still have to commit to the rehearsal schedule, which would be quite significant, as those of you who have seen the rehearsal schedules for shows know they will be. So we're open to individuals approaching us saying, I just can't be here for this and that reason. I really don't want to give up the main stage opportunity. I want to continue my role as the sound designer, as the assistant director, associate director, as the actor, all of these different functions that people play. So please reach out to us sooner rather than later if you think you're in that situation, and we're going to do the best that we can to make that work for you, okay? So some lovely images from our scene shop. Sorry to rush by that so quickly. Wardrobe, what am I saying? Got to go back to that. Get it right. Costume shop. So there were some questions about residences and student life. So this is a screen grab from a massive FAQ page that the university has provided. And I provided a link to it on the next page. And it really does answer all of those types of questions around residences, student life, so on and so forth. Okay, so please feel free to consult that. Again, if there's anything that we're not answering or that isn't in there, please let us know. Diego is going to just talk a bit about what it means to be a student rep right now, and what it means to possibly, to be a student coming back in the autumn with all these things kinds of challenges that we're facing going on. Diego, over to you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, being a student rep this year is definitely a different experience and a challenging experience. Me and Luca had to start way before working on this role in order to contribute and find ways and work alongside Karen and many of the faculty members to find ways to be able to transform our program and find ways of contributing to the first year experience. And for the people who are coming back, it's definitely super interesting, but I feel like I'm happy I'm happy to be able to be part of this role alongside with Luca. I think it's challenging but I feel like as artists, we love a good challenge, and I feel this is gonna help us create and find new skills and improve the skills that we already had, and be able to bring them back to put them back in the future. So that's going to be great. We are always open to suggestions. If you want to send me or look at an email, we want to hear your voice, what your opinions are, your concerns. We're always an email away from you, so please feel free to always contact us.
Thank you, Diego. It's awesome. I've just had a moment to check into some of the questions that are coming in, and there's two that I can see that I can address right now. The first was a question about residents, and I'm hoping that the FAQ page, and I'll just go to it here, so if you're still watching, brocu.ca/coronavirus/FAQ, there's information about residences and residence life there. We also had a question from Megan about when does the first semester start? It's a really good question. I'm going to ask a colleague who's not screen sharing, perhaps Rachel, if you could, or Diego, if you could please find that. Diego, you might know because of Smart Start. It's usually the Wednesday after.
Yeah. We start September the 9th.
September 9th. Thank you so much. A little late because of Labor Day. Okay, so please keep questions coming if you have them. So we'd like to turn now to a statement that Rachel Rhodes, who's here with us, has worked in collaboration and solidarity with the department and it's auspicious given that this is Juneteenth, the celebration of the end of slavery in the US, an anti-racism statement of solidarity and a DART action plan forward. And many thanks to the entire department around the work that was done to collect the information and the perspectives, the work that DART critics did to engage with BIPOC students of color to ensure that there were careful pathways of transmission of lived experience in the department for persons of color. And this is Rachel's bringing together her perspective and engaging with the rest of the department about how we can engage the very important issues around anti-racism as we move forward as a department. So Rachel, over to you.
Great, thank you, David. All right, so we are living in what will be known as a crucial turning point in global history. Leaders of the civil rights movement, of the Black arts movement, of the prison abolition movement, people who have been on the front lines of struggles for the liberation of all people for 50 years or more. These folks concur that Black Lives Matter, this mainly Black LGBTQ youth-led movement, and the multiracial coalition of active, fearless supporters is unlike anything they've seen in their lifetimes. So I'm speaking to you as a white American, queer, intersectional feminist, and anti-racist educator, and I recognize the privilege of my positionality. As an educator and researcher, I acknowledge and actively work against the racism embedded in Western socialization that exists within myself. We all have work to do to fight against internalized oppression. In the DART community, we must rise to these inspirational times, commit to anti-racist practices, learn and grow together in service of a more just world within and outside of the department. This has been an ongoing process prior to my being part of the faculty team, and we are now all more galvanized than ever by this extraordinary current moment. I've spoken to DART students over these past months. We have raged, cried, hoped, identified manifestations of racism, and brainstormed action steps in our immediate context and on a larger scope. This anti-racism initiative is an ongoing process that I invite all of us to undertake together. Working as a community to create a liberatory space for marginalized peoples means we all achieve liberation. If you've been in one of my courses, you know the mantra, all of us or none of us. We must build networks of solidarity. In the words of Black feminist scholar Audre Lorde, our future survival is predicated upon our ability to devise ways to use each other's difference to enrich our visions and our joint struggles. We look to the Black Lives Matter Global Network in establishing the principles we seek to embody. They state, every day we recommit to healing ourselves and each other, and to co-creating alongside comrades, allies, and family, a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. We acknowledge, respect, and celebrate differences and commonalities. We embody and practice justice, liberation, and peace in our engagements with one another. We work vigorously for freedom and justice for Black people and, by extension, all people. So what will this look like at DART? As faculty, we can enact resistance by making space and supporting all students to express their numerous cultural and experiential knowledges in a space of communal appreciation, caring critique, and artistic creation. Faculty are committed to including more scholarship from racialized sources. These counter-knowledges are often devalued. Canadian anti-racist scholar George Day writes about diversifying curriculum as a form of healing as collective politics. We recognize that there are common experiences of marginalization in university settings, and that has included our space. Looking to the future, our faculty are committed to learning and growing and reaching out to students to enable a space of healing, validation, purpose, and agency. So what else will this look like at DART? Last year, we produced a reading of Dominique Morisseau's play Pipeline about privilege, race, education in America, featuring a cast of professional actors and a DART student, nearly all of them Black. The conversation started by that reading and the talkback after it are ongoing. We will provide more such events and invite more racialized artists, scholars, and activists into our space. We will provide support for a student council committed to anti-racism in our community. We will welcome representation of marginalized students in our faculty meetings. We will receive training on creating safer, more inclusive classroom communities. I am creating a Microsoft Teams platform for ongoing discussion on how we can improve as a department community that will offer resources and opportunities for extended dialogue on anti-racism. Excuse me. And that I will update frequently to showcase the progress happening. There is progress, there's hope. If you are interested in joining the teams, my email address is rrhoades, so rrhoades @brock.u.ca, of course. So please reach out to me if you want to join. This is the time for what activists have been saying for decades, prefigurative politics. As we go about developing a more anti-racist community, we will maintain communication that allows us to put our visions for the ideal future into action. Chris Dixon writes of putting aspirations into practice, to intentionally shape our activities to manifest our vision and engage in more egalitarian modes of interacting. Let's do this together now. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rachel. And thanks to everyone in the community who contributed thoughts and observations, and we'll ensure that what we do is take that statement and also disseminate it via other means. So thank you. Looking forward to everything that is going to come from that. So I think we're almost at a wrap. I am trying to double task here. You can see me looking over to my other screen to see what's coming in on the comment stream. I'm not seeing anything that we haven't addressed. Apologies if I'm missing something. And we will make sure that we review these questions after. And please contact us with more questions, and we'll update our DART FAQ and information page again at this link. And once again, we've recorded this session, and we will make the video and the PowerPoint available on Dartboard. And incoming students, you'll be contacted over the next couple of days about how Dartboard works and how the online content management system that it's part of works. And just a couple of images to finish with. And I'm wondering if Gavin or Diego or Rachel have any final thoughts before we sign off and thank everyone for having been here today.
Hi, I have nothing much to add at the moment. We do have some lingering questions in chat, which I'm noting and just getting to responding in the stream chat panel rather than extend us too much longer. But as David mentioned earlier, we'll respond to these if we don't have the information presently. We'll respond to these in our next town hall or in another appropriate forum. I think this probably includes questions related to what tuition looks like in the different possibilities, because as though we're in early days, it does feel like this is coming up fast. I don't think we have that information unless David knows better than I do.
No, let's make sure that we supply that on the current, student page. Yeah, thank you. And for those of us who are presenting, there is a bit of a lag. So when we do finish, we'll just sign off. And thank you very much, everybody. Lovely. Looking forward to being in further contact with you.